everyone, after last introduction video, today we will deeply talk about the health information standards, especially the Data Exchange Standards HL7. Still, this is Atlantic. After today's lecture, you will learn what is the health standards and why this is important. Then, we will learn the different version of the Data Exchange Standards, Health Level 7, version 2, 3, and CDA. Please be notice that in today's lecture, there's a lot of concepts that are really hard to understand, but they are very important for you understand and learning of this topic. So, if you have any questions, please do make a note and ask me those you don't understand through online funeral or through emails. I'm glad to answer all your questions. I will also post the slides on the OER sites for your later referrals. Now, let's start the course. Today's first topic is Health Information Technology Standards. There are two key words of this topic, interoperability and, of course, standards. The relationships between these two terms are health data standards is a necessary component of the interoperability in healthcare. Interoperability needs appropriate standards to link computer systems and to share information in a way that meets security and privacy needs. So, what is interoperability? Interoperability is one of the hottest topics in healthcare. The term interoperability means different things to different people. The most widely definition is interoperability is the ability of two or more systems or components to exchange information and to use the information that has been exchanged. The task of the interoperability is to deliver the right information at the right time to the right place. Everybody, you, me, patient, client, clinician, manager, or payer, stands to benefit from more soundly based decisions, safer care, and less waste, errors, delays, and duplications. So what is the relationship between interoperability and standards? The interoperability needs appropriate standards to link computer systems and to share information that can be more security and privacy. Now, you must be curious about what is the standards. Standards are documents established by consensus and approved by recognized bodies. Interoperability standards are the foundation of whole industries. Standards like SNOMED-CT, the systematism of medicine clinical terms, and HL7, the health level 7 including fire resources, provide key standards that underpin efforts to improve healthcare interoperabilities. HL7 provides the structures, rather like English grammar, while SNOMED-CT provides the words that computers understand, like the vocabulary. Now, let's talk about HL7, the health level 7. In this chapter, we will talk about the different versions of the health level 7, including version 2, version 3, CDA, and the fire. HL7 International is an international standards development organization, which is also what we talked before here, standards that be approved by this recognized body. So HL7 standards is approved by the International Standards Development Organizations, which is the HL7 International. It creates standards for the exchange, management, and integration of electronic healthcare information for clinical and administrative purposes. In all these versions, HL7 version 2 is the most widely used healthcare interchange format. Message are sent in response to trigger events. It is used in over 90% of all hospitals in the USA and is widely supported by healthcare IT suppliers worldwide. There's two very important parts of the HL7 version 2. One is the messages syntax. This part describes the overall structure of message and how the different parts are recognized. The second part is the data types. The data types are the building blocks of the field and may be simple with a single value or complex with a multi-components. I will deeply talk about these two components in a couple minutes with a sample message. After the HL7 version 2, the version 3 RIM was designed to address the most of the problem with version 2. It is based on a reference information model with 6 main classes: act, entity, role, act relationship, participation, and role link. The data type in the version 2 are based on those in version 2. Because the version 3 is very complicated to understand, so the developer has quickly developed two standards based on the version 3 RIM, which the CDA and FIRE. We will talk about this later. Now, let's look at a sample of the version 2 message. Remember, we have two really important parts in the version 2 message. One is the message syntax. So, if you look at the languages here, for each line, there's a start with MSH, or PID, or PV1. For the PID, as you can guess, this is the patient information. For PV1, this is the patient visit information. So each segment related to information about the patient report sources. So the data type is in here. For example, in this segment, you will see the patient ID. And patient ID usually will be numbers. So the data type will be numbers. And for sometimes, if you see, as you can see here, there's a date time. So the data type for this field will be the date time type, not the data type like the numbers. Now let's look at the next page, which is the next topic, the Clinical Document Architecture CDA. CDA, Clinical Document Architecture, is the most widely adopted implementation of HL7 version 3. It is a core of the many standards-based health information exchange architecture internationally, used for exchange information in the form of the documents. So each CDA document has a common header and variable body parts. For different report types, for example, labs, cardiology reports, transcription reports, there could be different body parts as the body parts. There are 3 different levels of the CDA documents. The level 1 is a single human report documents, which contains a header, which all the levels will have, and a body that don't have the entries, which is the discrete values in there. The level 2 can include multiple documents, for example, the PDF attached under the CDA headers. For the level 3, it can include structured information, which means there's coded value. For example, you can code your heart rate by using the SNOMED at the level 3 body part as the description value. Here is an example of the CDA header. So it always starts with a clinical documents, and it's always follow the XML rules. So this piece of report is not only human readable, but also the computer system readable reports. If you look closely into this report, you can see here is a coded value which coded the report title by using the line code. And there's a language code, and it always has an open segment and a closed segment. In my current work, so if you remember from the introduction video I posted earlier in this month, I'm working with the reports distribution team in Provincial Health Service Authorization. What I'm meaning doing is, in our team, we have built an interface that transform the HL7 version 2 message to the CDA documents and send it out to the downstream systems, which is to our family doctors. So in the future, and even now, you will have your lab or your medical, your cardiology images to transform to the CDA documents and from hospital to your family doctors. In this part, we will build a CDA template which will follow this rule, and we will pour all the information. For example, for this code, the line code, the upstream system will send one code in here. If you look at the OBR segment here, there's a test code, which will be the line code. And we will grab this field information and fill it in the CDA documents, then send it out through our system in the future. The reason why we are translating this version 2 message to the CDA is because the CDA is more human readable, and with the technology development, it is more widely used in the future, and it can contain more different information in one of the reports, not only by the version 2 message, because version 2 message is limited with the report forms and types. We can't change the structures in many ways. To talk about the future, I have to introduce the FHIR to you for a little bit. The FHIR, which is the Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources. It is also based on the HL7 version 3 RIM format. It's a little bit different than the CDA document. Even though the CDA document is follow the HTML format, but the FHIR resources is more technical, and it's widely used in current computer science world, so that the technician don't have to learn a lot clinical terms to help in transforming the version 2 message to the more modern computer readable report. So these standards have developed after implementation experience with the other HL7 standards and built to copy the web, particularly RESTful interfaces. So if you want to learn more, we can talk about this in the next lecture. Summary. So after today's class, I don't know how much you remember. I know there's a lot of difficult terms you need to learn and you need to remember. And this course is really, I have to admit that this course is quite boring and not very fun. So let me review today's context with you. So for the interoperability, I don't know if you remember, but long story short terms is the interoperability is to help the people to deliver the right information at the right time to the right place. And the standards is the structures and appropriate standards to link the computer systems and to share information in a way that meet the security and the privacy needs. For the health level 7 standards, this standards is more like a English grammar to provide a structure for the interoperability, the data exchange. We learned the version 2 message, how it looks and how it's built, and version 3, we compare it with the version 3 messages. And we look at an example of the CDA documents which based on the XML structures. And we also talk a little bit about FHIR, which I will leave it to you to develop to find more information about it. That has led to our assignment here. I want you to write a short paper in no more than 500 words to describe the two differences between different versions of the HL7. You can choose any two different versions of HL7 based on what you like. The CDAs compared to FHIRs or version 2 compared to FHIRs. Please remember to use the academic sources like books, journal. You can find it on the school's library sources, and please cite it follow the APA style. You can find more links through the OER sites. I will provide book sources on there. Please hand in this assignment electronically through email by the end of this month, November. And I will provide more information on our OER sites. There's a full rubric there. So before you hand it, make sure you read it clearly and make sure you get to know where you will lose your points. Thank you for listening to this lecture. And here's my email address here. You can contact again if you have any question about this lecture. I know it's really hard. Please feel free to contact me through this email. Thank you very much. I will see you next week.